I'm going to start off with a quote that comes out of a book called Power Up Your Life, Accessing Your 12 Powers to Achieve Health, Happiness, and Abundance and Inner Peace by Bill and Cher Holton and Paul Hasselbeck. And the quote is, "Love is the power to harmonize, unify, unconditionally attract, feel affection." How's that landing for people? Is that what love feels like for you? Love is the power to harmonize, unify, unconditionally attract, feel affection. So yes, maybe, sometimes, not all the time, something we aspire to. So in that chapter on the power of love, because this is going from the 12 powers that Unity observes, they also write about how power is associated with the back of the heart when it comes to the body. It is associated with the color pink, which works so well with my talk title slide, and is linked with wisdom and understanding. And at the very beginning, they write about the ability to feel love and how the ability to feel love and how love expresses really depends on the level of consciousness that you're vibrating at. And so when they talk about ordinary consciousness, they talk about how ordinary consciousness is based on what we think, what we believe, what we feel, the stuff that is going on around us, memories, expectations, ideas of what love is all about, and how what that can lead to is underdeveloped love and egocentric love. And when they talk about underdeveloped love, they say that this limits the ability for someone to express love, to really understand and appreciate the love that they are, that maybe someone else is, and that it can lead to difficulty in handling conflict. Now, when they talk about egocentric love, they talk about this as being an indiscriminate love, about sort of not having any parameters, not having any kind of idea or rules or concepts of how to express love, what love is, what intimacy is or is not, and how that can lead to being sort of indiscriminate with how you express love or don't, receive love, neediness, and the inability to compromise. And so even though I'm not going to talk about this in my talk, it reminds me of what I was talking about on Wednesday and the consciousness that has been around what happened with the US election. And so for me, instead of focusing on, oh my gosh, life is going to hell in a handbasket sort of thing, which a lot of people in the United States feel right now, I want to focus on love. Because we know from a spiritual perspective, from a quantum perspective, what we focus on expands. We also know that whatever our foundational life belief is, according to Ernest Holmes, our already established premise is, that's going to be the lens through which we view our world. And so if we believe that the world is a safe and welcoming and loving place, that life is unfolding for me perfectly every moment of every day, even if it doesn't feel like it, then that's what we're going to experience in our life. But if we believe, even if we're not aware of it, that danger is lurking around every corner, that life is happening to me, that other people have an agenda, then guess what we're going to experience more of? Danger Bay, right? We're going to meet people who are going to give us evidence for this hypothesis that we have that life is going to hell in a handbasket and there is danger lurking around every corner. So let's focus on love, okay? Just for right now, this is why we're here, but right now, let's really, really focus on love. And so what I want to do is I want to tell you a story that came into my purview a few days ago, which I found so delightful. And when I went and looked it up, I found out that this actually took place in 2022, so a few years ago. So in Los Angeles, I don't know if any of you have heard this story, there was a little girl named Madeline. And Madeline wanted a unicorn. But Madeline also wanted to make sure that if she had a unicorn, it was okay with the Los Angeles County. Anybody know this story? Yeah? Okay. So Madeline wrote a letter to the Los Angeles County that deals with animals, and she wrote this letter in saying, actually I have the words here, I would like your approval if I can have a unicorn in my backyard if I can find one. Please send me a letter in response, Madeline. Okay? Now, what's your immediate gut response to what happened with the LA County Department of Animals and Welfare and whatever? You don't have to say. But how many of us thought that they wouldn't respond, right? And so what ended up happening is they did. They took some time, and this is what they wrote. Dear Miss Madeline, unicorn licensing. Thank you very much for your letter requesting permission to have a unicorn in your backyard. I am pleased to tell you that the Los Angeles County Department of Animal Care and Control does license unicorns under the following conditions. All right, so they said how the unicorn must be cared for in compliance with whatever policies they have in place. The unicorn is to be given regular access to sunlight, moonbeams, and rainbows. This is an official document. The unicorn must be fed one of its favorite treats, watermelon. I don't know where that came from, but watermelon apparently, once a week. The horn must be maintained and has to be polished at least once a week. And any sparkles or glitter used on the unicorn must be non-toxic and biodegradable, ensuring the health and well-being of the unicorn. Okay? And then went on to write, it is always rewarding to hear from young people who thoughtfully consider the requirements of providing a loving home to animals. I commend your sense of responsible pet ownership to seek permission in advance to keep a unicorn in Los Angeles County. Enclosed is a pre-approved unicorn license for when and if you can find one. So this struck me as so beautiful and so delightful because here's this little girl. You know, her parents could have gone, oh, don't bother, you know, like no one's going to write back, no one's going to take you seriously. But the little girl had this beautiful idea, right? To her, it was just like a normal idea. I want a unicorn, but I want to make sure that I can have one. So how much does it speak to like the accountability and responsibility on that little girl's part, right? And then she's got the parents who support her and empower her and help her to make this happen. And then this letter goes to this LA County Department of bureaucrats who knows how much red tape they're dealing with every single day, take the time and focus and energy and put their intention into crafting not just a response, but actually taking action and saying, you know what, we can actually make this happen. We can actually give this little girl a unicorn license. And whether she finds one or not is not the point of the story. It's the fact that the magic and the wonder of the little girl, you know, spilled over onto her parents, which then amplified through her parents into this government, you know, department, which then went and amplified right back to this little girl who had an expectancy that, you know, there's a unicorn somewhere for me. I know that I can have it in my backyard. I just want to make sure that it's okay with everyone around me if I do that. And so to me, this was about the magic of love, which is the title of my talk today. And so first I thought, you know, the power of love. But to me, this was magical. Because magic, at least for me, when I think about magic, it's not about the trick that is happening. It's about how much it enchants and delights. It's how much it connects us with sort of the like, how does that happen? How is that even possible? And opens us up to really exploring infinite possibilities of how we can experience life. And so for me, with this little girl who wanted to make sure that it was okay for her to have a unicorn, because she knew she could, but because of all this, you know, ripple effect that took place from this one sort of act of wonder and curiosity and love, every single step of the way, love was amplified. Consciousness was raised. Vibration was felt. Frequency was raised. And so here, bless you, if we take a look at what Paul Hasselbeck and the Holtons were writing in their book about ordinary consciousness versus elevated consciousness, which level of consciousness do you think Madeline wrote that letter from? Huh? Right? And because she was at an elevated level of consciousness, no attachments, no anything, no expectations really, just like, this is where I am in this process and my request. Because she was so authentic in the way that she felt and the way that she approached this, then she could only activate that same level of consciousness, if not higher, in her parents. And then because they were totally enrolled and on board, because they were all now all vibrating at this higher level of consciousness, when that letter that is also energy and vibrating at a certain level of consciousness appeared on whomever's desk, then all of a sudden, that person was at opportunity to receive it at ordinary or elevated consciousness level. And because there was so much love and magic and wonder in this request, they could only respond in kind, right? And when they did, boy, did they make this little girl's day. And not only that, this story is still being talked about 2 years later, all across the globe. So to me, this really was a beautiful example of what it is that Hasselbeck and Holton's talk about at the beginning of the book, where they say, love is the power to harmonize, unify, unconditionally attract, and feel affection. That's exactly what happened in this situation. Like Madeline wrote the letter, she brought her parents in, which then brought all of these people in at the Los Angeles County Department for Animal Welfare. It unified everyone in this one request, in this one possibility of this little girl having the opportunity to have a unicorn in her backyard with permission. And then it attracted all of this love and joy and infinite possibilities of how can we approach this? How can we really, really just participate in this entire thing with and as the love that we are, which in the end really, really amplified the affection that everybody felt for the entire process. And Madeline just being tickled pink about the opportunity to have a unicorn in the backyard. So this reminds me of a quote by Ernest Holmes, founder of religious science and the author of The Science of Mind, among other books, where he writes that love is a cosmic force whose sweep is irresistible. That is one of my favorite quotes about love ever. Love is a cosmic force whose sweep is irresistible. When we are vibrating at a higher level of consciousness, when we continue to open up to our inherent nature, the truth of who we are, when we remember who we are, we can only attract more of that love, that vibration, that frequency into our orb. And so our work is, our practice is to keep practicing, to keep showing up, to keep remembering that love is all there is. And because love is all there is, that we are that love, and so is everybody else. So is every outcome, even if it's not something that we would prefer. So if we look at David Hawkins, going back to the beginning of the year when we were going through the David Hawkins book, Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender, he talks about, thank you, Gail Musio, how on the map of consciousness that he came up with, love vibrates at level 500 and unconditional love is at 540. Here's the thing though, unconditional love, when he came up with this, he was saying that less than 4% of the population vibrates at that level of love. Why? Could be many reasons. Everybody's journey is theirs to take. Everybody's journey is theirs to lean into, and not everybody is vibrating at the same level of consciousness. We're not necessarily vibrating at the same level of consciousness all the time, no matter how aware we are. But it's also about practice, because it's not something that happens automatically. We are love. We are that allness of being. But we also forget. Because if we go back to Alan Watts a few months ago, where he was saying, we're so powerful, we can make ourselves forget that we're all powerful, that we are pure unconditional love. And so our work, our practice, is to remember. It's to come together. It is to bring into your life your daily practices that help to inspire and empower and uplift you so that you can be that beacon of love and magic, not only for yourself, but everyone and everything in your orb, everyone and everything in the world. Because the more we focus on the love, the more we focus on the magic, the more magic and love we're going to experience and we're going to find in our life, right? So I want to leave you with one last quote, and it's the quote that we had for our meditation. It's by the author Nora Roberts. Love and magic have a great deal in common. They enrich the soul, delight the heart, and they both take practice. Thank you, and so it is.